All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Legend of the Three Kingdoms. Yes, this is one of my homebrew D&D campaigns set in my weird, messed up homebrew D&D campaign setting, and the people below me have just spent the last 20 minutes deciding if we wanted to add anything from D&D 5.5 in here, of which not a lot of it came over yet. So, yeah. Announcements. I've officially published an in-depth review of the new 2024 Player's Handbook. It's a 3-hour long video, more than 3 hours long, but it has timestamps. So you can jump around and find the things that you find most interesting. But overall, my opinions on D&D 5.5 are it's not done cooking yet. They should have left it in the oven for another year or two. There's some good ideas. There's some less than good ideas. And then there's just some outright donkey in there. So your mileage may vary. Other stuff going on. As of today, if you have a Heroes tier subscription on D&D Beyond, you now have the ability to get into the early access of the new PHB. It's technically not out yet, but it's been in early access for Masters tier subscribers for about a week. Now the Hero tiers get access to it. Next week it actually gets released everywhere. So, yeah. There has been much fanfare about this and lots of people saying lots of different things. But we will see what happens. I'm interested to see DMG, kind of. But I think the thing I'm most interested in is seeing the new bestiary. Just because I want to see if they have fixed the problems with encounter building and stuff like that. And the issue of challenge rating being almost as accurate as your Myers-Briggs personality type. So, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know, Myers-Briggs personality types are horoscopes. And they are as accurate. It's complete malarkey, and it has been tested and retested. The psychological community has known for like 20 years. It's complete bullshit. Do not believe if you take one of these personality tests, if you're an ECBM or whatever it is, that means something. Your Hogwarts house has a better chance of figuring out what you are like as a person than your Myers-Briggs personality test. Also, if you take the test at different times in the day, you'll be a different person. Other stuff going on right now.
Speaking of magical houses, Misfits and Magic will be coming out soon for the new season on
Yes,
Dropout.
very cool. The Brennan Lee Mulligan. What was it? Was it on Game Changers or something? Somebody made a post or a joke or something basically stating that Brendan Lee Mulligan's entire life was a
A
social
game changer.
experiment. Yeah, a game changer.
And he's losing.
Yeah, and he's losing. It is by far one of the funniest things I've ever read in my life. Especially since they're going, I was a little bit worried when the Truman Show came out. I thought somebody had leaked our plan, but apparently it was just parallel thinking. So we were really happy that Brennan didn't find out until fairly recently. Love the Dropout people. They're amazing. Anything else? October 1st, which is getting here faster and faster, Renegade Game Studios is going to be running a backer kit to fund their new Essence 20 game, which will be a tabletop RPG version of Welcome to Night Vale, which is a weird podcast, is the best way to describe it. But it's very cool. It's very popular. So that's going to be happening at the beginning of next month. Draw Steel, which is MC Matt Colville's tabletop RPG that he kickstarted at the beginning of the year. They have sent out the first playtest packets, I guess you could call them, to the backers. And I have read it, and I'm very excited. So that's becoming more of a thing. Yeah, anything else really big happening in the tabletop RPG space? No? Cool. All right. I think that means it is time for us to return to the legend of the Three Kingdoms. The party is hiding. After making it to Klausgate, the party discovered what seemed to be a deserted city. But after a little investigation, they were able to discover that the city was indeed populated, but no one was allowed to leave their houses for fear of invoking the wrath of the two Dark Lord generals that ruled over the city. After investigating an abandoned property on the west side of town, these two generals showed their faces, and the party recognized one of them, seeing the face of their fallen comrade commander stepping out of a carriage with a woman who looked similar but different. They eventually discovered this was not the commander, but his twin, Vincent, and their younger sister, Elizabeth. In attempting to negotiate with them, Elizabeth decided that she was bored and wanted to play a game. So they challenged the party to a game of hide and seek. If the party refused to play, they would destroy the city house by house, and to prove their ability to follow through, they detonated one of the houses instantly. The party decided it was in everyone's best interest to play along, at least for the time being. So they were told there are a number of orbs hidden throughout the town. And if they can find all of the good orbs, then they win and they can leave Klausgate. However, intermixed with the good orbs is an equal number of bad orbs, that if they are disturbed, they will erupt, killing not only the party, but anyone else nearby. The party quickly started to hide, started using spells and other abilities to figure out where one of the orbs was, and they eventually found one hidden in a house just before they were effectively locked inside, with surveillance surveilling the entirety of the town now. As Argenta went up to the orb and grasped it in her hand, she felt this immense amount of energy start rushing up her arm, and the party, fearing for the worst, now has to discover what the outcome of this orb is. And that is where we return. So, reminder for me, when last we left, Argenta had literally just picked up the orb, right? I'm not forgetting anything else?
I believe I had cast Liebman's tiny hut.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
In the hopes that that would prevent you all from dying.
Yes, I think, because I think we were trying to decide whether or not Lehman's tiny hut would contain an explosion versus protect us from one on the outside. I think I opted to cast it so that way, um, the orb is not inside the hut.
Mm-hmm. So you guys are effectively in the bedroom with the couple that was hiding in there, except for Argenta, right? Argenta is the one that came out to pick up the orb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So rewinding just a few seconds, Argenta, as you go out, take a few breaths, kind of steady yourself, come to that kind of mental place where if things go badly, you're okay with that. You reach down, you pick it up, and as soon as your fingers make contact with it, you can feel energy flowing from it. You can see little tendrils of electricity traveling up your arm. All of the hair on your body starts to kind of stand on end. You start kind of feeling this light behind your eyes. Your head starts to hurt just a little bit, like you're looking into something far too bright, but you're not closing your eyes. As you feel almost overwhelmed by this surge of power, suddenly everything stops. And you look at the orb, and it's still kind of glowing, and you can still sense some energy in it, but you don't feel like it's outputting any more. It seems that you have activated this one.
Yeah, does it look like something you carry with you, or does it just look like it stays here?
Well, it was hidden under a floorboard. And when you got it out, it wasn't like it was hidden under a floorboard in a crystal holder or something. It was just lying there.
All right, I'll pick it up then.
Okay. So you do notice it is remarkably light. Like, you feel like an orb, because this is roughly the size of, like, a little bit bigger than like a softball. So you think with something like this made of, because it's a translucent glass kind of material, it should have more heft to it. It just doesn't. It's very, very light.
I mean, she'll put it in like a side pouch
Okay.
if it's like the size of say a softball, and then I'll walk to the bedroom. Didn't blow up.
Yet.
Does Argenta look any different, or did we see the same thing?
Why
Really
don't you
bright
make
light,
me-
and then
Yeah, you guys saw flashes of light and things like that. If you were able to kind of angle yourself so that you could actually see Argenta, you would have seen the little tendrils of lightning going around, her hair starting to kind of stand on end. Go ahead and make me a perception check.
yeah, 20,
Oh yeah.
24.
So as you're only 24?
I'm not proficient in perception,
Oh, I was like, you're a
but I have advantage.
okay. So looking at Argenta, you at first you can't really tell what it is, but just something about her seems slightly different. And you probably wouldn't have noticed at all if you hadn't been kind of looking so closely. But you realized when you look at Argenta's eyes from certain angles, basically kind of dead on, there's a tiny light that seems to be projecting from the back of her eyes. Again, it's so faint, it almost just looks like, if you weren't looking for it, it just looks like she's maybe like a little more bright-eyed than normal. But now that you focused on it, you can definitely see just this tiny kind of pinprick of light actually coming out of her eyes.
It's done some like Rowan's kind of like he gets from behind the table where they, or not, it's not table because we were in the sphere. He comes over from the sphere and he's kind of like he's doing the examination now. Well, something's been done to you. Does anyone else see this? Like he'll even shift it. Like just look straight, look straight.
Now that you mention it,
If you shift, it's done something to you.
I mean, it wasn't uncomfortable. It was just strange. A lot of power came from the orb. Kind of everything went white for about a split second. I feel normal now, right?
As normal as you can be. To be fair, you feel pretty good. You know, nothing well, outside of the artery. Like you don't feel like you're supercharged or anything, but you feel good. Like you feel like if combat was to start right now, you'd be ready. If you need to move around, like all your muscles feel like they're kind of ready and willing to answer what you want them to, which isn't a new experience for you.
Yeah, or it just kind of shrugs. I feel fine.
Random thought. There's not based on anything, but I think one maybe this will lead us to the next sphere orb, or now they're keeping in tabs on us. Because we found the first orb in their game.
I can try casting Identify on the orb and Argenta to see what may be going on. But it'll just take some time. I don't know how much time we want to spend. We spent a lot in this house already.
As I recall, those spheres they have you did say last session that they after a little bit of time it had moved on.
As far as you can tell, there was a red light that was kind of bathing the house for a little while, and then the red light itself moved on. But again, because you're indoors and all of the windows are covered, you're not 100% certain what that means. It could be that the thing is still out there and it's just not shining on you. It could have flown away. You don't have that information.
Okay.
So what do y'all want to do? The two occupants of the home are still, I wouldn't quite call it cowering, but they're definitely keeping their distance from you as much as possible. And they look like they would be very excited if you left.
Yeah, I think we should.
We should.
So, I'm sorry, I just want a clarification on the orb itself. Is it just like a crystal ball looking thing? Is it like a sphere that has things carved into it, or is it just like a
It
smooth
looks effectively like blue glass. It's opaque, so you can't see through it or anything like that. And the color itself has no gradient to it. Like it's one solid color, but the color is kind of halfway between like a blue and a white. So while there isn't an actual gradient, it almost feels like the color crystal between like a light blue and a white, depending on where you're looking at it.
Hmm.
I presume we take them with us as proof that we found them.
I think so. Um, should probably put it in a bag of holding though. Want to try that trick with locate object again?
Oh yeah. I guess now the question is, yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, we found in the first house. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it going off what we found the first time.
Right.
If there was anything special about this. Okay, so we understand from the psychometry that was set up here. I don't know, I can't know how much to infer here, but the couple is a married couple, quotation married couple. They were put here. I don't know if they were put here as a married couple by uh
This story that was told to you is they are a recently married couple that inherited the house, or they were given the house.
yeah, because he killed the old couple that was here.
Mm-hmm. Which they didn't tell you that, but you found that
No,
out.
the psychometry did.
Yeah, the psychometry
Right.
told you that.
Yeah.
I mean, yet I don't know that we can go house to house and start asking people, "Hi, we're new to the neighborhood. We're doing door-to-door sales. Just wanted to know kind of the history of the house. Do you have any
Well,
orbs hidden anywhere?"
again, I just don't know what we don't know we know the rules of the game is what they told us, so we don't know
Right.
anything else like
Right.
set the house apart.
Like we could go outside and do a quick walk around to see if there's any like hidden messages or markers or indicators on the house.
The problem is there's things out there now.
Right.
I
Unless
think you're muted, Lillian. Or at least I can't hear you. Maybe check to see if your mic got changed. In Zoom, every so often it'll change what it's using as your mic input. Well,
Sadly, I
while Lillian is
don't have no
arguing
visibility.
with her vocal cords, anything else you guys want to do? Again, where you are right now, they have intentionally sealed off the house completely from the outside world. So, other than those tiny cracks where that red light was able to get in, you guys have no idea what's going on outside of the house. You don't hear anything outside, but they've also done their best to kind of soundproof the house as much as possible. So,
Hello?
all right, I heard you there.
Alright.
Mhm.
If there aren't any tech issues, does it really count as a stream?
Right.
So you had something that you wanted to do, Lillian?
I was just gonna say that now that we know what they look like, could we get you looking on it?
Yeah.
I was asking Mama.
Yeah, I can definitely use locate object again. I used it once to find this one.
Now,
Um,
the specific wording of locate object uh, finds the nearest one to you.
yes.
So,
So I'm
I would imagine
taking.
we want to try and get out of here, find a way to get out of here first. That because that could be valuable time for
Yeah,
the duration.
but I'm taking this one and putting it into a bag of holding.
the one that Argenta has right now? Because
Yes.
Argenta, as far as my understanding is, Argenta had it and then she put it in one of her own pouches.
Okay, so I will hold out a bag of holding and say, Argenta, can you put the orb into this bag?
Will putting it in there do anything weird? Is my worry.
Well, if if you hang on to that, then I can't use locate object to find the next one. And we're back to going house to house looking for an orb, or going around the outside of this house and trying to see if there's some kind of a hidden sign that says, yes, orbs are here. If you'd like to hang on to it, then that's fine. We just need to, it just takes locate object off the table.
I'm. Do I. Because it did something to me, Jody, do I feel like something bad will happen if it goes into a different dimensional space?
Um, it sounds like a bad idea. You're not 100% certain why, but it sounds like there's you know so little about the orb that sending it to a different dimension, because I mean that's technically what the bag of holding is its own little pocket dimension. Especially with how reactive it was when you touched it, and your own connection to different planes and stuff like that. You're getting this feeling in the back of your head that it's not a good idea to put it into a different dimension.
I think bad things will happen, is what she'll say.
Why do you think that?
I can't. I don't. I'm not studied in the arcane, but I have an intrinsic knowledge of a few things. Planes are one of them. That bag is technically a different plane on its own, and I feel if I put this in there, something bad will happen either to me, to the orb, or whatever the orb is connected to.
Can you sense the other orbs now?
She'll just try and do that, see if it's a thing.
You have an ability to sense portals or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Why don't you mark off one of those for me?
sure.
And how long does that last again?
It just tells me if there's one like within 1,000 feet.
Okay, so as uh, as Vala goes, can you sense any other ones? Your first reaction to that is like, seriously, guys, this is stupid. I just don't, in your head, you're going, I just don't think it's a good idea to put it in there. But then you just have this kind of weird idea. You're like, I wonder. And so you start to open yourself up to the kind of planar barriers and gates, as you've done quite a few other times before. And sure enough, you get this little blip in your head that indicates this house right down here. And again, you've used this ability to basically kind of track where portals and breaches to other planes are. And this feels very, very different. Almost like a a glitch in the program or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it most definitely does indicate that particular house.
So you'll see Argenta kind of just focus for a moment. And then as her eyes refocus, I think I sensed one.
Well done.
Not exactly with the orb, but I tapped into that portal sense.
When Rowan saw Argenta looking off, did things look weird?
Argenta, how do you kind of see yourself using that ability? Do you see yourself as like closing your eyes or like looking into the distance? How do you visualize
Looking into the distance.
it? Okay, so yeah, Rowan, if you were studying Argenta closely, you probably would have seen that little kind of pinprick of light just for a brief moment kind of flicker for a second. But that would have been the only change you saw. And you've seen Argenta use this ability at least one other time. I can't remember, Argenta, if you've used it too many times since you've been here. But if I
I've
remember
used it
correctly,
like
you've used it at
3.
least once.
I've used it like 3 times.
Yeah, so you've seen Argenta use this ability before. So it didn't look that much out of the ordinary. Just, again, that tiny little flicker.
Well, if you've got a sense, let's go investigate it.
I do. I want to look to the couple. It says like we're going to be leaving as soon as we can. Do you have a means of leaving that doesn't cause disturbance, or is everything here boarded up?
And the wife kind of looks at her husband, and the husband looks back, and you see him just kind of close his eyes, and very weird to watch, but you watch him sigh without making any noise whatsoever. It's really weird, almost like somebody had just like turned the volume off on something. But he gets very, very close to you so he can speak in your ear very, very softly. He goes, "I'll show you if you never come back."
We have no intention of coming back. We have to find him next.
Okay. So he goes back and he says something to his wife that you guys can't hear. And you watch as she just kind of goes next to the bed and kind of crouches down and kind of gets as small as possible. And then he gets up and goes out, opens the door, and kind of motions for you guys to follow him. And he brings you to the privy. And the closer you guys get to it, the more you don't want to be there. Because you can start smelling things from it, and you're just like, oh, no, we don't have to. And eventually he kind of opens it up, and it looks like it hasn't been cleaned in years. And like your eyes start to water. If those of you that are really, really close, like your nose starts to run, which really messes you up because your instinct, when it starts to do that, just go, and as soon as you do that, you regret it instantly. And so you see, you don't know where it came from, but he already has like a bandana over his mouth and nose. And he just kind of gestures.
Roland's gonna look like he's gonna point down. He's like, point down, and he goes like a direction.
And again, he completely silently sighs. And he goes and there's a pull chain for the privy. And as he pulls it, the chain, normally what would happen is there's a lever in there. And so you pull the chain, it goes down, and it lifts something up, and then water and everything. But the pull chain doesn't seem to be attached to a lever inside of something. It seems to be attached to the box itself above the toilet. And as he pulls it, the entire back wall tilts backwards, and you can see a little path. You also can see that the privy itself is actually not connected to anything that would allow the waste to escape the privy.
That's the reason why it smells so bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't look like anyone has actually used it. It just looks like this is how they have camouflaged their exit.
They must go somewhere else. I'm not going to ask. Rowan just like also mutter, thinks to himself. He doesn't mutter out loud. Just like act like I'm fucking weird. Like I didn't understand it. Your water closet is a secret.
So he, the husband,
Fucking
just
Alex Trebek.
leaves.
The answer's obvious because I have the fucking cards ringing.
So he leaves you guys. Who wants to go first?
Before we go, do we need or do we still have pass out trace on us?
You guys have been in here longer than 10 minutes, so.
Doesn't pass out trace?
I thought, is it not 10 minutes? Is it longer than that? Is
How
it
about
an
pass out
hour?
trace?
No, it's an hour.
It's an hour. Never mind. Then no, an hour has not passed yet.
Oh, okay.
But you guys are getting. You guys probably have about like 15 minutes of it left, because it did take you a decent amount of time to find the orb and do all of this stuff. So you probably have about 15 minutes of pass without a trace left.
Let's go then.
Yep.
All right. So again, I ask, who is going first?
I'll go first.
Okay. So as you kind of climb down there, you are relieved that once you get basically past the ground level of the privy, or the floor level of the room, the scent gets significantly better. It's still not particularly pleasant where you are, but it's no longer kind of stifling and choking you. And you look around and you're basically in a crawl space underneath the house, and you can see in front of you that the kind of walls of the crawl space have been modified in such a way that there is just enough room for a kind of medium-sized creature to be able to squeeze between two of them. But from the outside, unless you're looking directly at that spot, you wouldn't be able to see it. And the crawl space goes underneath the entirety of the house, so all of you can kind of fit under there before any of you have to kind of move out. So what do you all want to do?
Real quick, before he reels, would it be possible for me to give away 2 gold or something?
Sure. If you offer him any money, the first thing he does is he reaches into his pocket and he takes out a handkerchief, and he kind of puts it out, and then any coins you get, he kind of wraps them individually so that they don't make any noise, and then he pockets them and leaves.
For the trouble, I'll say it all.
Okay. He seems appreciative of the payment. He seems significantly more appreciative of the fact that you're leaving. So now that you all are kind of underneath the house, what do y'all want to do?
I'm need to move forward along this path carefully, and I'm assuming there's an opening.
Yep, like I said, there's this kind of the boards in them have been kind of moved to a point where a single medium creature can kind of move through them without too much difficulty. It's still going to require squeezing, but and then as soon as you go over there, you will be on the street itself. So
So I think, very carefully peek through the boards,
okay,
move them aside, and do we see anything?
go ahead and give me a perception check.
Fuck. 14 with a natural 1.
Impressive. So, as you kind of lean out to see what you can see, just due to the angle and everything, you're having a hard time seeing anything. You notice that there is just the tiniest bit of rubble that is helping to kind of shield the opening from outside eyes. And so as you're sitting there just trying to even just get a view of the sky, it's not working. And so you keep trying, and eventually you get to a point where you're just moving your head and you're like, I can almost see what I'm looking for. And suddenly you guys all hear this crashing sound as one of the little bits of rubble just kind of gets bumped ever so slightly and moves, and instantly red light is shot on you guys again, and I need a stealth check from Vala with disadvantage.
I am going to use my heroic inspiration
Okay,
to cancel that and be just a straight roll.
gotcha.
23.
23, cool. And is that with 10 from pass?
No, so that would be 33 with passive
Okay,
without trace.
cool. So, as the light hits you, you freeze. You stop breathing. You stop thinking. You just kind of focus on this mantra of, I am a rock. I am supposed to be here. I am aboard. As you look up, you can see this large, lidless eye looking at you. The eye itself is partially translucent, and green and red. And this cone of light is shining down from this eye. But as it sits there focusing on you, nothing seems to be happening. And a minute passes, nothing. 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Once it gets close to the 10-minute mark, eventually the light goes away, and you watch as the eye kind of flies away. And you can see from the little place that you're able to look out, you see just in the kind of local area that you guys are in, about half a dozen of these eyes just keep kind of flying over the city where you guys are. So you don't think you've been spotted, but you did have to effectively waste about 10 minutes. So Pass Without a Trace is just about over. You might get one more check out of it.
Alright.
I think we should move quietly.
Yep.
Can I gather just from the roll insight maybe? was the reason why Vala didn't get spotted because she just stayed stock still, or is it just because?
Good question. Yeah, go ahead and roll insight for that. Go ahead and take a DM inspiration for that. So that's a good question. Or heroic inspiration, is that what they're calling it now?
Yeah.
They need a different word for is what they do need. That would have been a great thing to do in 5.5.
Well, calling it heroic instead of like just inspiration does help a little bit. 27.
27, cool. So, yeah, you're sitting here thinking it's like the light hit Vala. Like, there's no way it didn't. You guys could see Vala's skin turned red in certain places just from saturation from the light. There's no possible way that the light didn't see her. So, kind of running through a bunch of different things in your head, the only explanation you can come up with right now is what, at least as far as that red light is concerned, it's looking for movement or something akin to it. Again, what happened that brought it over seemed to be a sound, but you understand basic physics in the idea that sound is movement of air molecules. So you think that it has something to do with movement and or sound, and Vala exhibited neither while she was targeted by it. And you guys see this little cup of water. No. But yeah, as that's the only explanation that makes sense to you as of right now. You can't 100% be certain that that's what's going on, but it fits the data you have. Does that make sense?
Yes. So Rowan will stage whisper, obviously, otherwise it's makes them to pick it up. It'll go like, you were caught dead to rights. It seemed you didn't move at all, and then it moved on. So if the light shines on any of us, maybe we have a shot at it not tripping.
Yeah.
If the light falls on us.
Just be perfectly still.
Understood.
Yeah.
I think going forward, we're just going to assume that everyone is whispering, so
Yeah.
I don't have to turn up my volume. So
Yes.
speaking your
Okay.
normal voices, it'll make it easier on me, but you guys are all aware that sounds are bad, so your characters will be whispering. Unless you particularly tell me, no, I'm going to say this real loud.
I'm gonna shout this from the rooftops.
Unless we want to turn this into an ASMR D&D stream, we can. So I'm gonna cut this soap as part of my component for casting the spell.
Welcome to D&D on NPR. Today we're going to be talking about bards and how you can incorporate bards into your normal holiday plans. And then we're going to have some sweaty balls. So
I was
I think
thinking
we're
of
going to have a really great time. Glad you guys are here. All right, so now that we've made the obligatory NPR jokes, so yes, please speak up. Some of you are getting a little bit quiet for me. So where do you guys want to go now?
we're gonna try and go. Are we gonna try and go for like? Saying I'll draw on the map. Do we want to try for like that?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any special preparations that you guys want to do before you go out, or any patterns that you want to follow, or anything, or just start running?
I would imagine doing a stop and go, like maybe like house.
Yeah.
Okay. So, my understanding, you guys are basically going to go from, and as I've mentioned before, there's not a ton of like cover around the houses themselves. Like there's not a lot of shrubs or thing that you can hide behind, but the houses are houses, so they're large enough to conceal you to a point.
Yeah.
So my understanding is you guys want to basically hopscotch house to house to house to get to the next place. Yes? No?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry. I
So-
redrew like that.
Yep.
to
Nope.
the theme.
Perfectly fine. So the first thing, excuse me, the first thing I'm going to need from you guys then is stealth checks from Urabuddy.
It's the last one with Path Without Trace.
Yepers.
Ooh, that was tilted on the 3.
All right. Well, let's start with Rowan then. What'd you get?
Total now 28.
28, and that's with the pass.
Yes.
Okay. Lillian.
24 with the pass.
Okay. Argento.
32.
Okay, and then Vala.
With Pass Without a Trace, 44.
Yes.
So while the rest of you are very, very sneaky, Vala simply ceases to exist.
Bala just turns into the narrator now. It's like, what the party didn't realize is that the rest is smooth sailing.
So yeah, with those rolls, you guys are actually able to kind of hop yourself 2 houses forward and get to that one right there. And as you are doing it, why doesn't everybody roll me insight checks?
Ooh,
Start with
okay.
Vala this time.
22.
22. Argenta. We'll come back.
12.
12. Okay. Lillian.
4.
4. Rowan.
17.
17. Okay. So everyone but Vala, you guys are just kind of focused on, I'm not going to get caught. I'm good. And so you make it to the next house and you start kind of doing what you can to kind of partially hide under the crawl space or under a porch or whatever will keep you from being viewed. Vala, because you have transcended space and time, in addition to keeping quiet, you kind of are watching and seeing what's going on, and you start picking up a bit of a pattern to the eyes. Why don't you roll me an Arcana check too?
23.
23, yeah. So you start recognizing the spell that has been used to create these eyes. It's not an uncommon spell, it's an arcane sensor. It's not something that you yourself have used, but back in your vigilante days, it was not an uncommon thing for wealthy people to use them basically as cheap guards. But the thing with arcane sensors is they are spells. They're concentration spells. And they normally require someone to pilot them effectively. These seem too regular to be like you're used to timing guards. You know that even the best guards that follow the exact schedules that they're supposed to will still have little quirks and things. Like one guard might like to swing a little bit closer to the wall so that for part of his patrol he can just kind of lean on it for a couple seconds, while another one will actively stay away from the wall to make sure he can always... These paths that they're following are identical every single time. And you start realizing even more so than kind of your regular security, you can time the pattern. With Vala's help, any stealth checks made to avoid being seen by these arcane sensors, you guys can add a +2 to until something changes. So, now the nice thing about where you guys were moving is you weren't on technically a major street or anything like that. Now you guys have to actually cross a street, and you don't have Pass Without a Trace. And probably the biggest problem with the street is it's cobblestone, which is very reflective of sound and makes a lot of noise when you step on it. So that being said, you basically need to get across this street. Getting in between the next few buildings should be relatively easy for you guys. Then there's one more street that you have to cross. So how do you guys want to go about that?
So I tell everyone about the patterns. We wait another 15 seconds. Should be good.
I was going to ask. Was it Argenta that used Mold Earth?
I think so.
Well, I was wondering, and I only looked it up because I actually saw Argenta use Mold Earth. Its component is just somatic. So, I think Rowan would be like, "Can you make the cobbles go away?"
Yeah, but wouldn't that make more the worse?
I was saying, like, if you made the cobbles just made it just earth, like soft pad. Could you make it soft padded earth?
No, she shakes her head. I can't excavate stone, only loose dirt. I can, if it was difficult terrain, I could make it not difficult terrain, but I assume it's not. It's a street.
No, it's less than difficult terrain. Streets are easier to walk on.
Well, I didn't know. It did say a portion of dirt or stone, so I didn't know cobblestone if that counted or not. Or...
Well, no, it's because the very first effect where you excavate it, which would be what you need to do to make it soft, only works on loose dirt.
Okay.
Plus, how quiet is that process?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Well, if you have a way that you think maybe not actually moving the cobblestone, but you do have a spell without verbal components that allows you to move earth. If you can think of a way to use that to your advantage, you're more than welcome to do that.
Maybe just put dirt on top of it.
Yeah. The bridge.
What do you guys want to do?
I said I wouldn't be possible to mow the dirt so it go over the street.
That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with mold earth is you have to toss it within 5 feet, so I would be literally standing in the road while casting the spell a couple times.
Well, it says range 30 feet.
Yes, but the dirt has to get there. I'm just saying it'd be slow.
No.
It's up to you guys. The road itself is only about 10, 15 feet wide. So,
Maybe could have been the
Next window's in 30 seconds.
Um, so the road is like 10 to 15 feet wide, you said?
roughly, yeah.
I mean, they probably the we to always that nearby.
Not really. Again, the town itself doesn't really have a lot of anything outside of the houses. So there's no trees. There's no shrubbery or anything like that. Like even the cobblestone road doesn't have like a curb or anything on the edge of it. It's just cobblestone and then kind of more packed earth.
Mm,
I mean, do we use rope to
So Vala can time something for me, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So just because I can do this from like 30 feet away, um, and it's only somatic, can I mold some earth, like 5 feet of earth, into the street just to see if there's any reaction once there's just dirt there?
Sure. Why don't you make me a spell attack roll, just to see kind of how accurate you are.
That is plus 8, so 19.
19. Yeah. So you sit there and you kind of focus for a second, and you feel yourself connect with the earth. You lift it up, and you just effectively take a giant size hand of soil and go, and it goes over without too much difficulty. It's kind of damp soil, so when it hits the ground, it doesn't like make a ton of noise or anything. It seems to work perfectly fine. You think if you do it 2 more times, you probably could create enough of a path there that it would muffle the sound of you guys moving across it. Now, it also, you would leave footprints, and it would be very, very obvious where you crossed, but you think you would make very little to no sound.
Yeah, because it moves only 5 feet at a time,
Mm-hmm.
she'll try and pull from the other side, and because it's only like 12 feet across, pull it to that side of the street.
Okay. So yeah, working with Vala, you're able to create a path wide enough for the party to cross without making any noise.
I thought it was wider. That's why I was saying it'd be slow, but if it's only like 10 to 15 feet across, yeah.
Yeah. So why doesn't everybody go ahead and give me stealth checks with advantage? And don't forget your bonus from Vala. This time we'll start in the middle. Let's start with Argenta.
28.
28, cool. Lillian,
25.
okay. Rowan,
So that with the width, sorry, with advantage plus the 2.
Yippers.
Okay, so that's 21.
21. Kate, and then Vala.
Thank God for advantage. I rolled a 1 and a 2. So
Okay.
with the bonus, it's a total of 20.
20. With a 2?
Yeah, my stealth is plus 16. Apparently, I multi-classed into rogue
I
somehow.
was about to say, this close to being broken. Yeah, you guys were, as you're all passing, you're all feeling pretty good about yourself. Vala, as you are going across, your foot just barely misses the kind of dirt path, and you hear just the tiniest sound of like a scuff, and you instantly fear that you've set something off, but you kind of look around and it doesn't seem that anybody's heard you. You realize that you are so fixated on sound right now that you thought the sound that you made was significantly louder than it was. The rest of the party just looks at you as you just freeze in the middle of the road to them for no reason. You just kind of stare at you for a bit. Eventually, you finish crossing. As you guys get to...
Rowan just stares.
As you guys get to kind of the last barrier before you're going to be able to get to this house, you suddenly hear a sound that scares all of you instantly because it's a loud sound, or louder than anything you guys have been making. You start instantly kind of checking to see which one of you made it. But the sound itself is very, very rhythmic. As horses' hooves are moving down this road. You guys are in a place where you don't think you can be seen from the road, or at least not seen very easily. So you guys wait for a second and you watch as the carriage is driven from the south, moving north, crossing or driving up the road that you guys are going to be hopefully passing very soon. And you can see Elizabeth on top of the carriage, just kind of looking around. Every so often you watch her kind of wave her wand and point it to somewhere else. And you can see Vincent in the driver's seat, just looking very kind of stone-faced as he drives up.
Hmm.
And Rowan, I'll have you roll me another insight check.
Yeah. I really want that someone to use my inspiration to be like, dang it. Thank you. 27.
27. So, because you kind of figure this out from what happened to Vala, as you guys are all just sitting there waiting for it to go, something about this situation is just like in the back of your head, it's bothering you. Something about what's going on right now is just bothering you. You can't figure out what it is. And when you realize it, you almost have to stop yourself from going, aha! The horse and the carriage are making a lot of sound. But they seem, the arcane sensors seem completely oblivious to it. None of them, like you look up, you see if maybe like the patterns are changing or something. The patterns haven't changed at all. Nothing about it is affecting this surveillance thing that you guys have been dealing with. Unfortunately for you, there's not enough information here to be able to figure out exactly why, but it's definitely something that you notice. Whether it's they don't care about hoof sounds or
Yeah.
they have something that's stopping it, you don't know. But there, you have been shown there's a way to get around the sound sensors.
Hmm. Wonder if it has something to do with rhythmic sounds. I could try something very stupid.
The sounds of the horse and cart are starting to get a little bit more distant. You guys can still see them, but they're getting up to this kind of junction here, and it looks like they're going to turn left and go in the direction of the house that you guys are just at. So, anything you guys want to do before they disappear?
I'll just kind of look and see if there's anything special about their cart at all compared to before.
Sure. Go ahead and make me perception check.
22.
So, looking it over, you got a really good look at the carriage before. When you were pulling your whole predator move, you came right up to it. And one of the things you noticed was the inside of the carriage was effectively completely shut off from the outside. There were curtains and all these things to the point where you had just the briefest chance to kind of look in, and it almost gave you the feeling of kind of like an extra dimensional space with just how kind of cut off from everything else it was. The carriage that you're looking at now, it still has some curtains and things like that, but the curtains themselves are open, and for whatever reason, it doesn't feel anywhere near as closed off as it was before. Like before, you felt like if you were inside that carriage, you might not even realize there was a world outside of it. Now, it looks much more kind of Surrey with the fringe on top style situation where when you're sitting in it, part of the experience would be looking out and kind of enjoying the ride. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And I got to make a Music Man reference.
I'll whisper to you guys. Um, the only thing I noticed that's different is before the carriage was kind of cut off on the inside. Like if you were inside of it, you wouldn't see anything on the outside, you wouldn't hear anything on the outside. They've opened it up a lot more.
Interesting. Well, probably so they can sense what's going on outside and spot us.
We'll point out neither of them are traveling inside the
Yes.
carriage right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
No one's inside us.
Hmm.
And with that thought, they turn the corner, go off into the distance. You can still hear the hoof prints a little bit, but they're getting much, much softer. You can no longer see them. They're out of line of sight.
Hmm.
What do y'all want to do?
I think we keep moving towards that house.
Yeah.
So do you want to use similar plan as to last time with the dirt? Do you want to try something different?
Is it a main street again?
Yeah, each one of the streets on the map is basically the same size. So, cobblestone, somewhere between like 10 to 15 feet wide. Same plan? Different plan? What do you guys want to do?
I mean, how many times can you do that
Huh?
Yeah, I
how
mean,
many times can
It,
you move?
Mold Earth is a cantrip. I can do it all the
Oh,
time. It's just it leaves a very obvious path.
yeah. I mean, I ain't saying it would we keep doing it.
But we'd be in there a while is my main concern. If we leave very obvious paths.
Can't you use mold earth to clean up after us?
To an extent, but a freshly churned grave, you can tell that, right?
Yeah,
Well, the other option is we simply we dash, walk, dash.
yeah.
We'll just have to walk very carefully across, and then once we get back on the earth, we then look for an opening to get inside. I would probably recommend going somewhere into, like, in between these houses, and then we look for access.
Not just knock on the front door? Alright. Let's go then.
all right. So, just so I understand, dirt or no dirt this time?
No dirt, just so that if they come by, we don't
Mhm.
leave a path.
All right. So then I just need flat stealth checks with Vala's bonus. Let's start with Vala this time.
Only a 24.
Damn. Rowan?
17.
Okay.
The guy with the breastplate is sweating.
Liliane?
Also 17.
All right. Argenta?
Ooh. 28 again.
Okay, cool. So amongst the four of you, getting across it while not making sound is a lot more difficult because the windows you guys have are not quite long enough for the entire party to make it across in one setting. So Vala, you kind of have to time and send people across at different times. And so it takes you the better part of about 10 minutes to get across this. You don't see any red lights or anything like that. Yeah, now if anyone wants to make investigation checks, you can use that to see if you could find entrance to this new house that you're at.
One person or
Anyone that wants to.
I can.
I will assist with that.
Okay.
Paula got a 19.
Okay. Anyone else?
23.
All right. Anyone else trying investigation checks or no?
nope.
Rowan got a 7. I think he's thinking back to time in the village when, monsters.
You're still fixated on the fact that there's giant eyeballs looking for you.
Yeah.
Between Vala and Liliane, you guys are looking around this kind of oddly shaped house. It almost looks as if it was two separate buildings that they eventually kind of built a structure to conjoin them. and that's where you guys are able to actually find your purchase. Is the place where the two buildings are effectively conjoined. You find a very similar setup to what you found at the other house, where there's just this little gap in the crawl space beneath the house, just wide enough for a medium-sized creature to get through, that if you didn't look directly at it, you wouldn't even notice it was there. And so with that, all of you are able to kind of get underneath the crawl space without too much difficulty. Looking around, you don't see a similar mechanism to what you saw at the other house, like a weighted door or anything like that. But taking like a few moments to just kind of scrounge around a little bit, you do eventually find just a really basic trapdoor at the bottom that looks like it can be opened from underneath. What would you like to do?
A trapdoor that looks like it can be opened from underneath.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we want to open it.
I think so.
Alright.
All right.
I'll open it first.
Okay. So go ahead and make me a. I'm assuming you're doing it stealthily.
Yeah.
So go ahead and make me a stealth check.
Alright.
Can Relwyn or someone else assist to like try and open it quietly? Like if we're helping to like, you know, because obviously you don't want to like just jerk it.
Yeah. If you can explain how you think your character would be able to help, because it's a relatively small trapdoor.
Oh, I thought it was like a big like.
Basically just wide enough for a single person to be able to get through it. So if you can come up with a way that you could help, I'll give them advantage on the roll. You just have to tell me how you envision your character helping.
Well, I didn't know if like just simply assisting in the opening of it to like a controlled open to as we're
just due to the fact that it's that small, kind of a too many cooks in the kitchen. If two people,
Okay.
if the only way you were going to do it, it would actually make it slightly more difficult.
Would it be reasonable to say if we poured lamp oil on where the hinge would be?
Sure, I'll give advantage for that. Sure, if you wanna lubricate it, I'll give you advantage for that. We'll say you will run out of lamp oil relatively quickly if you continue using it like that. But
Tiefling.
Well,
And I have light.
I rolled it pretty shit.
all right, so you have absolutely no problem whatsoever, especially with a little extra lubrication. I
have canola oil. I go personality.
as Liliane is just sitting there, very kind of like masterfully opening up, you suddenly just feel this strange, like slick wetness on your shoulder, and you look over, and Rowan is just sitting there, like taking like dollops of this oil and just rubbing it on the hinges, and it's like dripping on your shoulder and your ears and everything. But it does seem to lubricate it. And so as you open it up, the first thing you notice, you were kind of expecting like a click when you opened it, and it's silent when you open it, which you're very happy about. And as you lift it up, the first thing that you are able to see when you kind of adjust to the different lighting conditions is a broadhead arrow pointed directly at your face.
Um, I know. But I can implement it that way. I know what, my apologies,
As you start saying things, you see, despite the fact that he has, the arrow kind of notched to his cheek, you see him move a figure, kind of put it over his lips, and then he gestures for you to kind of come out of the trapdoor.
oh, no, 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 and
Okay.
come on,
And so,
and then
without
no info.
yeah, without too much communication, verbal communication, he's able to indicate through pointing and broadheads to have you guys come in, and then he kind of lines you up against the wall. And as you come in, you see there are two other people in there. The person that you met originally is a older gentleman, probably mid 40s, and the longbow that he's pointing at you is very well maintained. The two other figures in there are two young boys, probably around, first one's probably around 11, 12 years old, second one about 13, 14. And they're both holding short bows that seem comfortable in their hands, but the short bows themselves are nowhere near as nicely maintained. And they're all just kind of aiming at you guys. And once you all come in, the older gentleman kind of motions to the youngest, who slowly lets his bow, lets the slack out of his bow, and then goes and closes the trap door and seals it. And the older gentleman kind of looks at you all. What are you doing here?
I mean, he obviously whispering. We're forced into the game.
As are we all.
We have to find an orb.
Damn it. Saul, Paul, Git. You see both the kids just kind of look at each other, nod, and just vanish almost. You're not exactly sure where they went, but they made no sound going there. So what do you get if you win?
We're told we're allowed to leave.
You know, when I first got here, I got to play a game with them. Told if I won, he'd leave those that I love the most alone. So I played his game. I won. He decided, well, you can't love three people the most. One of them you gotta love just a little bit less. It's the last time I saw my wife. He nods over to a bookcase. There's a copy of the Teachings of the Dark Lord over there. Big, thick book. Think you might enjoy reading a passage or two.
Vala will go over and grab the book off the shelf.
Okay. As you touch it, the first thing you notice that you're having a little bit of a difficult time moving the book itself. And as you sit there trying to figure out why, you realize the book itself is actually set into the bookcase slightly. Like, just looking at it, you don't notice it from the outside, but as you look in, there are the edges of the book actually continue into the wood of the bookcase slightly.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
I will very gently pull it off.
Okay. So it won't pull out, but you think if you lift it, it's basically kind of locked into place. So you think if you lift it, you'll be able to eventually get it.
I will very carefully then lift it up and out,
Okay.
being sure to hold the sides.
Okay. As you start lifting it up, the first thing that you notice is it feels heavy. I mean, this is a big, thick, like law book thickness book. But even that, it feels much heavier than you think it really should be. But you do eventually get it, and as you start pulling, you suddenly eventually hear a click, and the book becomes significantly lighter instantly as half of it comes off in your hands, and you see a strange yellow orb was sitting inside of it, and you actually kind of fall back slightly, and the orb itself rolls out, drops on the floor. Doesn't bounce enough, you think, for how far it dropped, but it does make a noise, and red light bathes the house for a moment. What do you all want to do?
So this orb is yellow.
And hold on 1 second, since we just got Rowan back. To just fill you in, Vala had to lift the book up a little bit to pull it out. And once it got to a certain point, there was a clicking sound, and the back half of the book just came off, and a yellow orb that was hidden inside the book rolled out, hit the floor, made a noise, didn't bounce high enough for how far it fell, and now the house is bathed in red light. So that's all you missed.
All right. So we've
Well,
got.
obviously, Rowan just like sucks ill.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've got blue. We've got yellow. I was thinking this was a Dragon Ball thing, but now I'm starting to think this is a Power Rangers thing.
Watch out for the green one. It'll start out bad, but do the right stuff, and then it'll be good.
Does comparing this orb to the blue one, is there anything other than color that appears to be different?
Not really. It has that same thing where there isn't a gradient to the color, but the specific shade or tint of yellow that it is looks kind of halfway between yellow and white.
And it's also, I'm guessing, glass in appearance.
Yeah. Glass, opaque.
All right.
Argenta, do you get, I don't know, like a similar feeling without touching it yet, obviously.
Yeah, she'll just kind of look it over. Do I feel any sort of way about it, or is it just an orb?
It now that you can see it, you definitely feel something like you weren't looking exactly at Vala when it hit the ground, but you knew exactly where it was, despite the fact that you weren't looking when it happened. And even now, like, if you take your eyes off of it, you know the exact place it's in. It is kind of like in space.
I have some sort of awareness for it.
Hmm. Well, do we want to do the same tiny hut and then pick it up, or
Is your detect magic? 'Cause I also have detect magic, but it would be I could ritually cast it.
I have a wand of detect magic.
Oh,
I will pull out said wand,
Mm-hmm.
pop it like a glow stick, and point it at the orb. I'm assuming
So,
its magic is
just for my understanding, are you guys doing all of this while the red light is on, or are you going to wait the 10
oh,
minutes?
I'm standing still. Sorry, I thought the light.
I'm just
Yeah,
clarifying.
yeah.
Were you guys planning on waiting the 10 minutes for the light to go away?
Yeah, we'll wait for the light
Okay,
to go
cool.
away.
Same.
Then, yeah, with the wand of detect magic, again, basically, it's a black light that makes magic glow. And so as you kind of pass it over things, probably the strangest thing that happens right now is if you pass it over the orb itself isn't really glowing, but you can actually see this trail of magic that starts at the orb and goes directly to Argenta.
well, that's not concerning at all.
I think it's completely fine. You know, as the dungeon master, I think it's a good thing.
You know, there's a feature that I chose to keep because I didn't really feel the replacement feature fit. And it's the one time that this will ever see use. Because this would be hilarious if it worked. I'm going to try and primeval awareness for Orbicine.
Okay.
I just want to know how many orbs are within a 1 mile radius.
Ooh. Give me a second. I'm going to really quick read up on the specifics of that.
There was a store we had at the mall called the Candle Nook, and it had all these little figurines and stuff. Like, so I'm like wondering how many of these mall stores do we sense?
Oh, wait, no, it doesn't tell me how many, so never mind. If it told me how many, I'd do it,
I
but
was
it
about to say,
doesn't.
for this one in particular,
Yeah, it doesn't, like, it only tells me if they're around, and I know they're around, so it doesn't tell me the number.
Yeah.
Does it
Sad.
tell you the general direction though?
No,
it just
I knew it didn't tell me where they were. It just tells you if they're around,
yeah.
essentially.
The specific wording is you can sense whether the following types of creatures are present within 1 mile of you, or within 6 miles if you're in your favorite terrain. And then it
Yeah.
lists a bunch of creatures. I'm thinking adding orb creatures to that list. I'm good.
Yeah. I remember someone casting that spell while in Waterdeep in a game, and people were like, "The answer is yes. You're just everything."
Everything is in Waterdeep. It is. There has been times where I've seen people do like primeval awareness, and it'd be something like, "Are there any dragons within a mile?" And the answer was very yes. Extremely yes. Yes, 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 yes. And like, oh shit. And I think that's the only time I've ever seen primeval awareness give you any good information. It's a bad ability, to be blunt.
No,
Let's
I
turn
know
it
it's a
into a
bad
good ability. Because it is a spell slot. It does cost you a spell slot. Why don't you make me a spell attack roll? Let's see how much information you'll get out of this.
Yeah, 22.
Me too. Cool. So, kind of opening yourself up. Again, normally this ability is used to figure out if a particular kind of prey is around you. And especially when you were the lone wolf, this was actually a very useful ability for you to have, because one of the things that you would always be wary of, especially in Fenrish, is whether or not any were creatures were nearby. Because if you camp and they show up while you're asleep or whatever and you don't notice it, there's a very good chance you're going to be joining them. So you've used this ability before, you're familiar with how it works. But for whatever reason, you just got this idea in your mind that these orbs aren't just magic items. They are creatures in and of themselves. They have their own life force, their own wants and needs. And so you just kind of got this idea of, well, maybe I can sense them. And so you kind of slow down your mind a bit. You start focusing on your breathing, your heart rate. Kind of slow the world down around you. You start blocking out distractions. The sounds of your friends trying to come up with ideas. The ever-present presence of the old hunter standing as far away from you guys as he can while still being in the same room. And you can feel the orb that you already have in your pouch sitting there kind of pulsating. And you start to feel not just the presence of an item, but the presence of a figure, a being near you. And then that presence expands a little bit further. You can feel another presence right next to you. And this presence is warm, it's welcoming, almost enticing. And as you start to open yourself up to the presence, you start feeling more of them. You can feel a presence to the northeast. You feel two presence to the east. You feel Mathis Hart. 5 presences to the south. And then you're back. What do you want to do?
So you would have all seen Argenta's eyes kind of turn, like when wolves hunt, the pupils dilate heavily for about a minute, and then they come back. They're more alive than they are items. She kind of looks at the orb. There's 1 to the northeast, 2 to the east, and 5 to the south, within a mile.
Alive?
Is it the ability I used? It's used to track creatures. I have to note a specific type, and I just kind of focused on the orbs.
That's not disturbing at all.
No.
Well, we know. 'Cause I think they said there were 5 good and 5 bad. Um,
This one was. What did I feel about the one in my hand? Because you said the one on the floor is like warm and enticing.
The one in your hand just feels alive.
Okay.
So not really enticing to you. No, it's not calling to you. It's also not pushing you away. It's just alive.
All right. So this one felt alive. She pulls out the original one. That one feels like it's warm and enticing. And then the others were a bit too far, but I could sense for the the general direction.
Hearing about the how the orbs are being described, Rowan leans down, makes sure, obviously getting close to the one Argenta's holding, but then looks to that one, and then we'll also look to the one they haven't touched yet, the yellow orb, and he's going to use Eyes of the Grave.
Okay. Really quickly, remind me what that does.
Yeah, I will put that in chat.
There we go. Ooh, okay.
And because talking about life and words, like he's kind of wondering, he has concerns about what's been done.
So, the thing with undeath in general is undeath is not a mimicry of life, it is a mockery of life. It is the antithesis, it's a perversion of it. And that's one of the reasons why Eyes of the Grave works the way that it does, is it senses this kind of perversion of life and lets you fixate on it. As you fixate on this orb, nothing about it mimics any aspect of life you are familiar with. And as you focus on it more, you start kind of leaning into your connection to the Dark Lady and everything, and the idea of the purpose of your order is to help ease people in the passage of life, from life into the afterlife. And so you have an intrinsic connection to life and living beings in general, not just humanoids or anything like that. And nothing about this orb is alive to you in any way, shape, or form. There's obviously magic to it, but the idea of it being alive or having anything even remotely similar to a life force, whether magically formed through necromancy or like an animated armor, nothing. This is an object.
Like a spirit tied to it, or
Yeah,
spirits tied to it. There's nothing like that.
It's not even like there isn't something attached to it. There's nothing in this that gives the appearance of life to you. It's just an orb. It's a magic orb. It's a cool magic orb. But there's no life here.
When I it was the right psychometry on it.
On the orb, you would. On the area, you wouldn't. But Grim psychometry in general requires touch.
The detect magic that Vala used, doesn't it tell a school of magic?
Yes, it does. In this particular instance, there is no school of magic.
Okay.
Another thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because again, the orb itself didn't technically come off as magical, but there was some kind of magic connection between it and Argenta. Which again, according to how detect magic works, shouldn't be possible.
But we've also been informed about this unweave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
I'll pick it up if you want me to pick it up.
I don't know that that's a good idea.
no, I have a feeling it might be warmer than tight because of a bad one.
Everybody back up.
Alright.
Vala will bend over and pick up the orb.
A new hand touches the beacon.
So, the world seems to slow down for just a second as you all are starting to kind of come to the realization that something weird is going on here. Liliane asks everyone to kind of step back, and Vala mentions it as well. Vala, as you get a little closer,
I will make an effort to try and use my body to seal the opening
okay.
into the room.
Yep. Make me an insight check, really quick. Argenta, I sent you a message on in the chat, the Roll20 chat.
15.
Okay. So, with a 13, something seems weird. Like there's something in the air that just doesn't seem quite right, but you're not quite sure what it is. So your protective instincts just kind of take over, and without really thinking, you just start positioning yourself to be in between the orb and the man. And it's, again, just due to your training as a ghost hunter, it's just the most natural thing in the world. You just, without even thinking, and you can also, you don't even realize you're doing it. You don't even realize you're doing it until you feel kind of the cold steel in your hand, and you've just rested your hand on your blade, just in case something goes wrong. Vala, as sorry, doing two different things at once. Vala, as you begin to kind of reach down, again, time seems to slow for a second. And suddenly... Go ahead.
I was just going to essentially, without even thinking about it, she's gonna try and grab Vala by the scruff of her neck and lift her off her feet.
Okay. We'll call that a grapple. Why don't you guys give me grapple checks? So strength athletics versus, you can choose strength athletics or dexterity acrobatics, Vala.
Oh, I'm going acrobatics.
Okay.
Hopefully your expertise in this too.
Half proficiency, so a total of 10.
32.
Jesus.
So you've effectively been scruffed like a kitten. You see Vala just kind of goes limp for a second there, and is just kind of hanging in the air as Argenta, who's a good, like, 2 heads taller easily than Vala, is just kind of holding her up without much difficulty either. Like, it's not like she's trying really, really hard. Argenta's just kind of holding her up.
Argenta, what the fuck are you doing?
She kind of blinks a few times, and then you see her eyes kind of dart from side to side, and she lets you go back onto your feet.
Argenta?
I
What was
I
that
didn't
about?
I didn't do. I needed to move you.
I see.
Well, she didn't kill you when you tried to touch the orb.
Not yet. She just uncontrollably prevented me from touching it.
Did you, Argenta, did you sense anything, or did you just blank out just now?
Her eyes shoot to the orb, and she's going to reach for it.
Okay?
Vala will attempt to stop her.
All right.
I will attempt to grab her.
Sure. We'll do another grapple check. Again, it's strength athletics for you. Argenta, you can choose strength athletics or dexterity acrobatics to try and get out of it.
We know it all take.
Is there any way I could be like draw back to my performance and like faux combat fighting, stage fighting? Yeah, no, okay.
Well, if you could come up with another way, like through a spell or a cantrip or something that you would be able to prevent her from doing it, I will let you use a different role to try and combat this. But if all you're
Yeah,
trying to
no.
do is grab her, that's a grapple check.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to weasel my way into using a better skill, but
I'm
a
good with that.
9.
You just have to tell me how.
I know. I got a 9.
All right?
Only a 20.
20, okay. So, as you sit there and you watch as Argenta goes to grab for the orb, you instantly kind of grab for her arm, and you realize that you and Argenta have never really kind of tussled before. And it's at this moment you realize you're very happy that that's never happened. Because you grab onto her wrist and it's like a tree trunk. And you, have you ever seen Age of Ultron?
Mm-hmm.
The scene where Mjolnir is flying through the air and Quicksilver goes, oh, and he grabs it and then and gets dragged along.
Yeah.
Same basic thing happens here. As you grab onto it, you're like, yeah, I go, whoa. Argenta, as you reach down, you feel your hands kind of close around the orb itself. You immediately feel elation. And you guys watch as these little tendrils of lightning start crawling up Argenta's arm. Liliane, as you're standing there watching this, doing your best to protect the man behind you, you hear just behind you, yes. The tendrils of lightning go up Argenta's arm. They start going out her hair. They're getting into her eyes, but this time something different is happening. You guys can start feeling heat building up in the room. The room itself is getting stuffy. You guys feel this strange kind of itching sensation on any exposed skin. And then the itching goes from kind of a mild annoyance to something that kind of hurts. And then it starts turning into a burning sensation. You start seeing the things on the wall start to kind of literally start melting. You see shelves starting to lose their structural stability and just start kind of falling and melting down, turning into liquid rivers of wood. and the entire house starts to shift and move. And I'd like everyone to make me Constitution saving throws. And Argenta, yours is made with disadvantage, unfortunately.
I'll burn my heroic inspiration.
Gotcha. Vala, what you got?
Dirty 20.
Not bad. Argenta?
25.
Kate? Lillian?
That was the first total was 26.
Damn. Rowan?
At 20 for a total of 28.
Wow. Everybody makes their save, so they're only going to take half damage from this. You take half of 54 points of radiant damage.
I don't know if anyone has any negation, but remember he also has some temp hit points.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
have resistance to radiant damage.
Half of
Finally.
54 is 27.
27, yep.
So that means I take 21.
Yeah.
I am sorry, guys, but that wasn't a good save of mine.
As you all kind of recover from whatever in the hell this was, you feel the ground below you kind of, or the wood below you kind of give, and you sink into it, and the entire house that you're in just literally melts into this puddle of goop. And you guys drop about like 4-ish feet, basically, to where you're now at the ground level, where the crawl space used to be. And there's this thick, viscous liquid that used to be a house and objects in it. And Argenta, holding in her hand, is this deep black orb. And if you look closer, you can see around the edges of Argenta's fingernails are now black as well.
Genta, are you okay?
Kind of. You see her head. There's still that like smile, and she kind of has to twitch her face a bunch to get her back her normal expression. No, I don't think so. I didn't let anyone else grab it, and I felt kind of good when I grabbed the first one, but this one that felt too good.
I think we need to get out of here quickly. I'm gonna look around for the old man and the
Yeah.
kids.
Rowan's
Yeah, I like the boy. I'm everything was
Where the man was standing is a pile of bones with, if you've ever seen what happens when fat re-solidifies, like if you have a soup and you put it in the fridge,
yeah.
basically you have a skeleton for the most part with this kind of jellied fat dripping off of it.
Is the skeleton still standing?
No,
Or-
it's fallen
okay.
into the goop.
So kind of like what Matt was saying.
Unfortunately,
Go.
go ahead.
Oh, she was just gonna say, I think in the future you should either die for the orb or Lillian to try and stop me.
Noted.
Yeah. But what do we do about that one now?
It was a bad
Unfortunately,
orb, it doesn't matter.
that is where we're going to end it for today. As always, if you missed any of this, I do upload all these to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TrainerJody. Otherwise, again, that's all for me today. I will see you guys in the next time. All right? Bye-bye.